تعهدكم عهد الأوفياء الشرفاء بأننا جاهزون لتنفيذ أمر الموت للدفاع عن الوطن حتى آخر قطرة دم. حتى آخر قطرة دم.
Shots fired, 140.
With steady steps, he was turning the department's vision into a tangible reality that many have witnessed. Amidst challenges, he continued to achieve successive accomplishments, despite facing both internal and external obstacles, especially from his adversaries who lurk in wait for him. Those who have failed to contribute anything meaningful to the country, other than their desperate attempts to stir public opinion, tarnish his image, and portray him as the Dracula of Libya. The rising young figure in the armed forces is considered one of the boldest military leaders, having achieved successive accomplishments in a remarkably short period. This is not because he is the son of the field marshal. After all, there are countless sons of presidents, kings, and military leaders who failed to contribute anything meaningful to their stable and secure nations. The young man moved with steady steps before the military leaders, uttering a few words laden with profound sincerity and the immense responsibility he has taken upon himself. A military parade, the largest of its kind by the end of 2023, was a declaration of victory over a turbulent phase that lasted in Libya for more than a decade. A phase in which the young military leader wrote its final chapters, following a series of military operations in the southern regions of the country and along its land borders, closing a long chapter of one of Libya's most complex problems. However, the following year recorded entirely different scenarios and images compared to its predecessor. The commander of the Army's ground forces emerged in a manner that surprised many with its scale, precision, and the swift overcoming of its challenges, all orchestrated by a military leader who carved his path from the battlefield itself. He became a destination for high-ranking military officials from foreign nations, seeking his favor and viewing him as one of the pillars of Libya's future stability. He is a man of few words, but abundant actions. He took a seat at the political table, restructuring relationships and borders with neighboring countries. He then excelled in reviving the Libyan national spirit, weaving the threads of genuine reconciliation among the nation's people. Saddam Haftar 2024. A year of work, challenges, and achievements. At the beginning of 2024, Major General Saddam Haftar appeared in a scene that dominated Libyan social media for months. After his appearance on January 7th, during the inauguration of the General Command's largest achievement ever witnessed in Benghazi, an architectural masterpiece consisting of a rising young leader who appeared for only a few seconds that day, later captured the spotlight with major achievements and milestones that marked a new turning point in shaping Libya's present and future. He began his journey by reorganizing the ranks of the ground forces, which he assumed full command of after a military career and strategic operations that granted him the expertise and excellence needed to lead the heart of the Libyan National Army. The heart of the army is now in the hands of a rising military leader who meticulously examined the behind-the-scenes details and studied every aspect before restructuring its military formations. He established a new framework to organize the operations of the Ground Forces Command, activating its divisions and offices to handle various tasks effectively. He later led the coordination of these tasks with the Counter-Terrorism Agency and the other units, brigades, and battalions of the Libyan army. He marked his presence in Rajma alongside the general commander during the honoring of wounded heroes of the armed forces, a humane gesture that the man did not overlook, paying tribute to those who sacrificed themselves in defense of the homeland.
نشكر فندي صدام حليم الله ما قصروا استقبال يعني لائق بالجرحى ونسأل الله توفيق لهم في تسهيل أمور الجرحى ولأهالي الشهداء. كيف ما قال أخبار طيبة بإذن الله يعني في أخبار طيبة لأهالي الشهداء.
While the students of the Ground Forces Command were preparing for their military exams, Major General in the Ground Forces Command, in early February, was leading the execution of strict instructions issued by the General Command to secure the release of Libyan fishermen and ensure their safe return to the homeland after months of detention in Niger. A mission successfully accomplished by Saddam Haftar, after which he transitioned to overseeing live ammunition training exercises at the Artillery and Missile School under the Ground Forces Command. This was followed by efforts to prepare command headquarters and military barracks, equipping them logistically at both the central and subsidiary levels. While such tasks might seem routine to many, they were meticulously planned and organized by the commander of the ground forces. Yet, their results and impact unfolded within just a few months, culminating in significant achievements whose signs became evident on March 14, 2024. The Dignity Shield on the soil of Al-Haniwa. What you witness now as a meticulously executed war, part of the largest mobilization project in the history of the Libyan National Army using live ammunition, is no coincidence. It is the result of precise organization, deliberate management, and strategic planning. The land of Al-Haniwa, chosen by the Major General of the Ground Forces for the Army's mobilization, derives its name from the valley that stretches from south to north, emptying into the Mediterranean Sea, approximately 40 kilometers east of Sirte. This valley extends southward into the steppes and deserts of Sirte, forming the natural eastern boundary of the city. Its geographical location stands as a strategic landmark, marking one of the historical borders of Sirte, known as Mikmadas, a city built during the early Islamic State eras. The remnants of this historical city still exist today in the ancient town of Sultan, which lies less than 10 kilometers from the valley's mouth, serving as a testament to its significant role in various stages of the region's history. During the Libyan resistance against the Italian invasion and occupation, the Al-Haniwa area, along with its valley and tributaries, served as a gathering and launching point for Libyan freedom fighters. These fighters came from the eastern regions of Libya to join other groups arriving from the south and west. Together, they formed the largest epic battle known as the Battle of Al-Qardabiya, often referred to as the Battle of All Libyans. Its site, Bir al-Qardabiya, lies just a few kilometers from Wadi al-Haniwa. The Battle of Al-Qardabiya goes beyond its military significance, offering a profound lesson with a central theme: the importance of national unity in overcoming challenges. Saddam's choice of Al-Haniwa to host the Dignity Shield was akin to rewriting the history of that epic event, but this time with patriotic minds striving to unify Libyan voices and hands once again. 8 months of tireless effort went into preparing and equipping the largest live ammunition maneuver in Libya's history, the most significant of its kind, within the framework of the greatest challenge achieved by the Major General of the Ground Forces. Through the reorganization of the ranks of these forces within just a few months, he established numerous brigades under the Military Operations Command. He modernized the forces, equipping them with the latest and most advanced weaponry. Some of these advanced systems remained undisclosed during the tactical maneuvers. 10,000 fighters, including officers, soldiers, and personnel from various brigades and battalions of the Libyan Army, participated in this massive exercise, organized as follows: Brigade 128, Brigade 21, Brigade 35, Brigade 34, Tariq bin Ziyad Brigade. These brigades were supplemented by the Air Force, Frogman units, Special Forces, Naval units, Fire Support Aviation, Artillery divisions, live ammunition, warplanes, paratroopers, and naval forces were all part of the military maneuver plan. This plan, meticulously prepared by the young military leader, aimed to enhance and strengthen the combat efficiency and capabilities of the Libyan army. Just minutes before the launch of the Dignity Shield, he was relentless, moving tirelessly to inspect the forces and monitor their readiness. He focused on the smallest details, closely observing the discipline of commanders, officers, and non-commissioned officers. Saddam made no distinctions in his selections, whether they were from the West, East, or South. Political affiliation was never a criterion in the army. His primary standards were patriotism, dedication, and competence. He was also the driving force behind the idea of supporting and rewarding soldiers and officers participating in the recent maneuvers, recognizing their performance, efforts, and seriousness in delivering their best on the battlefield. The military leader, forged by the land of experience in all its intricacies and details, surprised Libyans for the first time with a special invitation from neighboring Egypt. He was awarded a doctorate in military sciences by the Higher Academy for Strategic Military Studies in Egypt, in the presence of senior generals and officers of the Egyptian army. This academic achievement for Major General Saddam Haftar stands as a recognition of his excellence, capabilities, and remarkable expertise in the field of military and defense affairs. Just days after receiving this honor, he shifted his focus to a series of meetings with the Supreme Committee's chamber in preparation for the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Dignity Revolution in the city of Benghazi. An eye on the South. At the beginning of April, the Major General of the Ground Forces shifted his focus from meeting rooms, conference halls, and planning sessions to the arena he undoubtedly prefers, the battlefield. He appeared at the helm of Ground Forces units, heading to the southern region of the country, making a brief visit to the Al Awaynat Customs checkpoint. There, he met with the Anti-Illegal Migration Agency in the rugged border mountains, shared with Egypt and Sudan. A brief inspection visit to monitor operations and readiness along the borders, which had required months of relentless and continuous effort from the ground forces to restore control and tighten security over them. Saddam and units of the ground forces then arrived in the city of Kufra, where he engaged in a series of intensive meetings with officers and officials from security and military agencies. These meetings, attended by the Minister of Interior of the Libyan government, resulted in the establishment of a joint operations room to coordinate the activities of the ground forces with the city's security forces. The discussions also addressed the situation of more than 300,000 Sudanese refugees who had entered Libyan territory amid escalating turmoil in neighboring Khartoum. From Kufra, the Major General of the Ground Forces issued orders to establish a temporary operations room aimed at maintaining security and addressing the health needs of the refugees. These challenges were faced without the participation of the United Nations, yet Saddam stood firm, tackling them head-on despite their complexity and difficulty. The journey of the Major General of the Ground Forces in the south did not stop at Kufra. The south, once a haven for organized crime gangs, smuggling mafias, rebels, and human traffickers, became a focal point of Saddam Haftar's efforts. His extensive movements aimed to preserve the achievements of establishing security across the region, leading it on a path toward reconstruction and development under his command. From Kufra, Saddam Haftar moved on to military meetings and inspection tours to monitor the progress of development and construction projects with local and foreign companies, overseeing their operations in the Jalu area. He closely examined the work, scrutinizing details, and then issued directives to expedite the completion of construction projects within the set time frame across the regions of Ajdabia, Al-Wahat, and Al-Sara, all part of the comprehensive southern inspection agenda. From consecutive visits to oil fields and agricultural projects, to ensuring the provision of necessary resources for municipalities and security directorates, his efforts were focused on enhancing stability and development throughout the region. The plane carrying the Major General of the Ground Forces returned to Benghazi, where he attended a final meeting to put the finishing touches on the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Dignity Revolution. The event featured a grand ceremony and an impressive military parade before the General Commander and foreign and Arab delegations. Thousands of soldiers from various brigades, divisions, and military units participated in the celebration. The 10th anniversary celebration of Dignity, which coincided with major events and developments on Libyan soil, was masterminded by Major General Saddam. He meticulously planned and organized every detail and message of the event, delivering a preemptive strike to those attempting to undermine the nation's security, stability, and sovereignty. After the Dignity Revolution, things would never be the same. Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar stood at the threshold of a new phase, taking on the immense responsibility of heading the Ground Forces Command. This great burden, shouldered by the young general, sparked a whirlwind of questions behind the scenes about his capabilities, qualifications, and potential to lead the backbone of the Libyan army. However, what unfolded on the ground was extraordinary. The scene gradually took shape, the vision became clearer, and the correctness of the choice was undeniably confirmed. By moving to lead a committee of officers from the General Command, the commander of the ground forces undertook the task of realigning the ground forces structure. This involved canceling and merging several understrength battalions and units, while forming new, fully staffed formations capable of executing combat missions at the highest levels. One hand of iron prepares the knights of the battlefield, while the other extends on June 11th to offer condolences for the passing of the President of the Supreme Council of the Alabite tribe. The commander of the ground forces issued a decision the following day to allocate financial grants to the families of martyrs in celebration of the upcoming Eid al-Adha.
تنفيذا لتعليمات سيد القائد العام المشير أركان حرب خليفة أبو القاسم حفتر وبمتابعة من سيد رئيس أركان القوات البرية سيتم توزيع قيمة 2500 دينار لأسر الشهداء والجرحى.
The joy did not distract the commander of the ground forces from addressing the suffering of residents in the south due to a fuel shortage. In response, 60 trucks immediately departed from Benghazi, loaded with light and heavy fuel, heading towards cities and towns in southern Libya. Along with supporting the south, another division of the ground forces moved toward the great man-made river, taking action to cut off the meddling hands that were removing illegal connections from the system supplying water to the city of Benghazi. The movements of the ground forces on the ground to support stability and provide essential needs were paralleled by a visit from their commander to the Al-Juhaishia area, where he met with local sheikhs and elders. This visit coincided with another fuel supply campaign to the south. The commander of the ground forces concluded his monthly tour at the Sirte Operations Room headquarters, attending the closing ceremony of specialized military training for a number of officers and non-commissioned officers from battalions affiliated with the Operations Room. July 2024 marked a turning point when the commander of the ground forces appeared in an unprecedented manner, unlike anything Libyans had seen before. The military leader, who usually works silently and away from the spotlight, always clad in his military uniform, was now seen donning a politician's suit during an African tour as the special envoy of the general commander. This unexpected appearance came at a critical time as Africa faced a precarious crossroads. The tour began in the capital cities of Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso and N'Djamena in Chad, signaling a strategic move in a sensitive and pivotal moment for the continent. The African tour of the commander of the ground forces included a return to Benghazi to attend an expanded meeting of the General Command and the Libyan government. The agenda focused on examining the military retirement file, highlighting the ongoing efforts to address key issues affecting the armed forces personnel. The following day, Major General Saddam Haftar personally welcomed the Libyan fishermen, whose safe return he had ensured after intervening to uncover their fate, resolve their situation, and secure their release from Chadian authorities. Within 48 hours, his plane landed in N'Djamena, the capital of Chad, where he met with President Mahamat Idris Deby. This diplomatic tour continued as he visited Niger and held talks with General Abdurrahmane Chiani, laying down the framework of political commitments with neighboring countries. These discussions translated into a decisive military operation carried out by units of the ground forces against border militias, terrorist organizations, and smuggling networks. This African tour was a significant shock to Libya's internal factions, dominated by militias and ideologically driven religious movements, stretching from Misrata to Tripoli. Externally, it stirred reactions in French and English media, reflecting the unexpected strategic moves. Upon his return, Major General Saddam Haftar presided over a meeting with directors of departments and heads of divisions at the Ground Forces Command, further solidifying his leadership role in both military and political arenas. On July 18th, Major General Saddam Haftar attended a high-level meeting that brought together key figures, including the Deputy Commander of the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, Lieutenant General John Brennan, the Chargé d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Libya, Jeremy Burnt, and the Commander of U.S. Special Operations Command, Africa, SOCAFRICA, Admiral Ronald Foy, along with their accompanying delegation. The meeting aimed to facilitate discussions between the Libyan general and the United States on ways to enhance joint cooperation in the field of counterterrorism. Later, the commander of the ground forces engaged in a series of field meetings and discussions, which spanned from July 22nd to the beginning of August. On August 2nd, 2024, the commander of the ground forces held a meeting at the presidential headquarters with the commanders of battalions and units to discuss the latest developments and review the performance of military units under the presidency. The meeting aimed to strengthen their role and unify ranks ahead of a decision that surprised many both within and outside Libya. Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar issued orders directing units from the ground forces to head toward the southwestern regions to secure the borders, restore stability, and reinforce security in the extreme southwest of the country. A military force traversed the desert, reaching the Libyan-Algerian border, instilling fear in those who sought to exploit Libya's sands. This operation revealed the deep anxieties harbored by adversaries who were unsettled by the Libyan army's ability, under the leadership of the commander of the ground forces, to assert full control over Libyan territory and defend the nation's sovereignty and independence. Their concerns grew with the unprecedented trust Libyans placed in Haftar, as patrols of the ground forces passed through their cities and border towns, demonstrating discipline, strength, and a renewed commitment to protecting the homeland.
من مدينة غات الآثار، من مدينة غات المحذاحف، من مدينة غات الحرية والاطمئنان والأمن المستتب بقيادة المشير خليفة حفتر، نبلغ له أجمل التحيات والتقدير والاحترام من أراضي غات إلى أراضي الشرق ولليبيا كافة.
اليوم أشبه يعني حسوا بأن يوم فخر، يعني حسوا بالأمان، حسوا بالطمأنينة، حسوا بوجود فعلا قوات المسلحة. أنا موجه شكري واحترامي وتقديري للواء صدام رئيس قوات البرية على المجهودات اللي هو قام بها.
The commander of the ground forces, through his visits, directives, and oversight of plans and projects in the south, has decisively tipped the scales in favor of the development of this long-neglected part of Libyan soil. By addressing its challenges and striving to bring it to prosperity, he has reshaped the future of the region. Amid a whirlwind of responsibilities and a stream of achievements, the commander of the ground forces made a prominent appearance at a major event, the 84th anniversary of the founding of the Libyan army.
لا يسعني إلا أن أهنئكم بالذكرى 84 لتأسيس الجيش الليبي. نحن كرئاسة لأركان القوات البرية نعتز بالماضي ولا نستهين بالحاضر ونستعد للمستقبل.
A celebration marked by the motto, "We honor the past, prepare for the future, and take the present seriously." A few words, hailed by many as the most concise statement from a rising military leader, encapsulated the vision of the commander of the ground forces for Libya's present and future. With their conclusion, they serve as a gateway to the milestones of Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar's annual journey in 2024, a journey marked by achievements and accomplishments carried out with unmatched precision and exceptional quality. Units of the Ground Forces Command were deployed to carry out the directives of their commander, securing the southwestern border strip from the city of Gat to the Essen border area, Takarkuri Gate, and the vital Imang Point. From there, the mission extended to Inai, Talmasin, and finally to Gate 45 Alawainat, ensuring comprehensive security along these critical border regions. Following this, Saddam Haftar issued a decision to establish a continuous air bridge to the city of Kufra, transporting essential supplies such as food, medicine, blankets, and electricity generators. These resources were directed toward aiding the residents of the city and the displaced individuals from Sudan. The achievements of the ground forces did not conclude in August. On August 14th, the commander of the ground forces chaired a meeting with the Minister of Interior, heads of the ministry's security agencies, the Director of Internal Security, and the Deputy Director of General Intelligence. The meeting focused on reviewing the operations of the ministry's security agencies, addressing the challenges they face, and ensuring that all necessary resources are provided to enable them to perform their assigned duties with the utmost efficiency. A meticulous approach to monitoring and organizing every detail, with a commitment to examining all aspects of operations, no matter how minor or distant geographically. This dedication was exemplified by the swift intervention of ground forces units, establishing a new air bridge to deliver humanitarian aid to the residents of Gat and Tahela after devastating floods swept through parts of the city. Day and night, under the supervision of their commander, the ground forces traversed the country from end to end, ensuring security and stability across its vast expanse. The directives to support and assist the residents of the south in the wake of the flood disaster did not halt the continuous operations of the ground forces units. Patrols remained active, safeguarding the nation's borders, raiding dens of alcohol and drug trade, and tracking extremist militias, human traffickers, and smugglers in Shuwairif and other towns and areas of the south, including Karam al-Zalaf, Al-Hamada al-Hamra, Ramlat al-Sultan, Ramlat Zalaf, Awinawanin, Nahia, and Ben Dakish. These specialized operations and strategic steps coincided with a prominent appearance by the commander of the ground forces at the graduation ceremony of the first batch of recruits from the Konfuda Training Center. The commander of the ground forces participated in a high-level meeting with a delegation from the United States, led by the commander of the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, General Stephen Townsend. During the meeting, General Townsend commended the efforts made in monitoring and securing the borders with neighboring countries, highlighting the significant role played by the ground forces in maintaining stability and enhancing border control. Following that, the commander of the ground forces met with a delegation of sheikhs, elders, and dignitaries from Bani Walid, who had requested the visit as a gesture of gratitude and appreciation for his role and efforts in securing the release of their sons, detained by Nigerian authorities. The military leader who took control of territorial issues, tightened border security, and ventured into the political arena, has also remained steadfast in fulfilling his duty to protect the livelihoods of Libyans. Units from the Ground Forces Command embarked on a mission ordered by Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar, conducting a field tour through the city of al-Aranib toward the oil fields in Murzouk and Wadi al-Ataba, passing by the Maknusa project and Burguj agricultural project, reaching the Al-Fil oil field in the Murzouk Basin and the border strip between Libya and Algeria. These patrols aimed at ensuring security, uncovering smuggling dens, and locating hidden storage sites used for contraband trafficking. Days later, the Ground Forces Command launched a military operation against criminal gangs that had established bases in the far south of the country. The operation successfully cleared the area of these factions, which had deeply entrenched themselves within Libya's borders, ridding the nation of groups that had been preying on its stability and sovereignty. That operation's heroes found themselves engaged just hours later in a different kind of humanitarian battle. Tons of aid were delivered to residents in the municipalities of Seba and Al-Shati Al-Garbi, where several areas, including Tamsan, Al-Mansura, Wadi Al-Hayat, and Az-Zakuba, had been severely affected by flooding that inundated the cities. This relief effort was further bolstered by a convoy of 50 fuel trucks sent to support the affected regions and alleviate the suffering of their residents. Under the leadership of Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar, the management of the ground forces has been transformed, revitalizing their activities across various fields and at all levels. A series of successive achievements and objectives are being realized in record time, reflecting a relentless pace that seems to race against the clock. Among these achievements was the resolution of the crisis that engulfed the Central Bank of Libya, where Saddam Haftar played the role of the architect behind the last-minute agreement that recalibrated the direction of the central bank in Tripoli, despite being more than 1,000 kilometers away. Geographically, Saddam acted as the leader of reconciliation, overseeing the approval of the new administration headed by Naji Issa and the removal of Siddiq al-Kabir, all while ensuring no harm came to the livelihoods of Libyans. His intervention safeguarded the bank's reserves and deposits from meddling hands and external attempts to seize them. What many do not know is that Saddam, working discreetly behind the scenes, stabilized the operations of the central bank and ensured its continuity without division or fragmentation. On September 23rd, Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar joined the General Commander at a meeting with Celeste Wallander, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Security Affairs, Lieutenant General John Brennan, the Deputy Commander of U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, and Jeremy Burnt, the Chargé d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Libya. Fields once distant were brought closer by the commander of the ground forces, with wisdom and cunning. Following his attendance at the closing ceremony of the Special Tasks Course at the headquarters of the 110th Infantry Battalion in the city of Sirte, he then oversaw the first Fazan Grand Prize ceremony for Quran memorization and the Sunnah of the Prophet. From there, he welcomed and honored the Quran memorizers, celebrating their achievement of securing first place in the 30th International European Quran Memorization and Recitation Competition, held in Zagreb, Croatia. He attended the annual meeting of the components of the Ministry of Interior under the Libyan government, an event held under his sponsorship and contribution, fostering a unified vision to address security challenges. The meeting aimed to bolster the efforts of the Ministry of Interior and coordinate operations among security institutions to enhance safety and stability across the country. The year 2024 would not have been filled with achievements and aspirations, once regarded by Libyans of diverse backgrounds as an unattainable dream, were it not for the tireless efforts of patriotic hands that believed in the hopes of the Libyan people. These hands saw their aspirations as a duty and a right that must be fulfilled. In pursuit of this lofty goal, the commander of the ground forces chaired regular meetings with directors of security directorates, heads of security agencies, and military division leaders. These meetings, spanning several months, were aimed at preparing for the largest carnival Libya had ever witnessed. During this period, an unannounced visit took place to the United States, encompassing stops in Washington, D.C. and North Carolina, involving high-level military and security leaders, as well as diplomats. From Washington to the sands of Wadden Desert, November 2024 marked a significant chapter in Libya's history and cultural heritage, capturing the essence of its people, their civilization, and opening the doors to its future, all through the leadership of the commander of the ground forces. The first Libyan Heritage Carnival in the capital of stability and reconstruction, Benghazi, was launched alongside the Wadden Desert Rally, In the secure south, months of preparation, planning, and organizing culminated in building pillars of communication and bridges of coexistence among the diverse components of Libya from its east to west and through its southern regions. The goal was to reunite the sons of the homeland and strengthen their bonds through popular and traditional events that highlighted the Libyan pride in their identity, heritage, and national civilization. The event featured Arab horse racing, camel racing, and the traditional Al-Malwa falconry. A heritage village transported attendees back to Libya's authentic roots, while poetry and storytelling oases provided a space for the nation's literary expressions. Moreover, fields for mechanical enthusiasts from all over the world showcased diverse interests. In just 72 hours, Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar succeeded in gathering over 120,000 people from within Libya and beyond to witness the Jardina Carnival and Wadan Rally. Among family and guests, the commander of the ground forces participated in the event, attending the activities, races, and championships, fully engaged in the celebrations. Though the minutes seemed few, they were enough to present Libya to the Libyans and the world in a way that reflected its will and determination, breaking the barriers of defeat and turning the tables of despair, reviving the spirit of unity and coexistence among Libya's diverse groups, from Arab tribes to the Tuareg, Tebu, and Amazigh communities. After years filled with division, power struggles, and battles that dragged the country into chaos, this event rekindled the spirit of unity and hope for a prosperous future. The Grand Carnival and thrilling rally, which proceeded under the protection and security provided by the Ground Forces Command. Their leadership did not deter them from heading toward new missions and achievements as they set up a live ammunition training camp in the Libyan southern mountains. This was alongside their regular duties in pursuing corruption and terrorist gangs, ensuring security and stability throughout the region. Saddam the Human. In a humanitarian gesture reflecting a deep concern for the most vulnerable segments of society, Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar visited the elderly care home in the Massa area with the aim of understanding the challenges faced by the home's administration and exploring ways to improve the services provided to its residents. During the visit, the General emphasized his commitment to providing comprehensive support to the facility, highlighting the importance of starting the construction of a new, fully equipped building that would meet all the residents' needs. He also stressed the necessity of providing the essential requirements to enhance the quality of care and services. The direction of the commander of the ground forces took a completely different turn, with a meeting held in Seba, attended by a delegation from the United States. The delegation included the U.S. Special Envoy to Libya and the Chargé d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy for consultations aimed at coordinating efforts between the two sides to serve the interests of both countries. The following day, he headed to honor the Dignity Shield Forces and a select group of Special Naval Forces in recognition of their participation in the Phoenix Express 2024 maritime exercise in the Republic of Tunisia. This was followed by regular meetings with the commanders of the companies and units in the Ground Forces Command. This was followed by coordinating and organizing the 7th edition of the cross-country competition held in the streets of Benghazi, the capital of reconstruction and development. The station of achievements is drawing closer as 2024 comes to an end. But for someone who swore never to rest or allow others to, neither the hours of fatigue nor the months of strain will stop him. The directives of the Commander of the Ground Forces to support state institutions and develop the infrastructure of the security directorates in Al-Bayada within the merged Security Directorate and Karnada in Shahat. The efforts continued with the organization of a specialized training course in international humanitarian law for a number of officers from the Ground Forces Command under the supervision of an international legal committee. Just days after overseeing this, he personally witnessed the penetrating Arrow tactical exercise conducted by the 6th Company of Brigade 128 in the Jufra region. On December 18, 2024, Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar headed just past midnight toward the city of Sirte for the first ever night military maneuver of the ground forces, marking a historic milestone in the history of the Libyan army. Under the cover of darkness, with live ammunition, Artillery fired its rounds, rockets launched toward their targets, and ground units maneuvered across the terrain, while paratroopers jumped from the skies. The exercise executed offensive training plans, testing the readiness and combat efficiency of the ground forces in various conditions and at all hours. The Star of Tariq maneuver was a different kind of test, one that the ground forces successfully passed under the direct supervision and watchful eyes of their commander. The final highlight came when the commander of the ground forces, Lieutenant General Saddam Haftar, attended the graduation ceremony for a new batch of the Special Forces and Paratroopers Battalion under Brigade Tariq bin Ziyad. The training courses included parachuting with oxygen at an altitude of 30,000 feet, a first of its kind in Africa, diving to a depth of 40 meters in a closed circuit, as well as paragliding using a paramotor. During the ceremony, General Haftar praised the graduates' skills and emphasized the significance of these specialized trainings in enhancing the capabilities of the Special Forces and supporting the mission of the ground forces. An exceptional military leader with a sharp vision and unwavering determination, he achieved remarkable accomplishments and successes over the course of 360 days. He put the nation, its interests, the stability of its people, and their security above himself and his own comfort. He redefined the concept of responsibility in a country that had suffered greatly under the rule of figures who marginalized the nation, suffocated its people, and placed personal interests above national ones, selling its resources in international auctions. Criminals in suits attempted, and continue to attempt, to drag the country into the swamp of corruption and power struggles. But the military leader, who embraced silence and spoke through action and achievement, sparked a spark of hope in the hearts of all Libyans, from the east and south to the far west. Through his relentless work and the successes he achieved, outpacing time to accomplish them in just 1 year, he awakened the dream of every Libyan, a nation carried by shoulders loyal to its history, hands fighting for its present, and minds working day and night to ensure a future for its children.